Welcome to Culinary Origins. Stay with me right to the end, because I'll show you exactly what's coming next on this brand new channel. Now let's begin. Imagine ordering dinner at a fancy restaurant tonight. The food comes out hot, perfectly timed, plate after plate, like clockwork. You never think about how. But here's the wild part. Almost everything about that experience was invented by one tiny Frenchman with a giant mustache over 100 years ago. He never went to culinary school. He was barely 5 feet tall, and he changed the way the entire planet eats. By the end of this video, you'll never look at a restaurant the same way again. Picture a 13-year-old boy in southern France, dreaming of becoming a sculptor. That was little Auguste Escoffier. Instead, his family shipped him off to work in his uncle's restaurant, scrubbing pots in a hot, chaotic kitchen. But that boring job would turn him into the most famous chef who ever lived. And feeding the French army during the war taught him a secret that would change kitchens forever. Feeding hundreds of hungry soldiers with almost no supplies forced young Escoffier to master something restaurants back then were terrible at: organization. He learned how to plan every portion, how to preserve food so nothing was wasted, and how to run a kitchen like a tight military operation. It seemed like a small thing at the time, but that one lesson would soon change the way the entire world cooks. Because here's what kitchens were really like in those days. Total chaos. A single cook would make your entire dish from start to finish, completely alone. It was slow, it was inconsistent, and it was so hot and stressful that shouting matches and drinking on the job were just considered normal. Restaurant kitchens were basically a screaming, sweating mess. Escoffier looked at all of it and thought to himself, there has to be a better way. And the system he came up with? You've definitely seen it before. He invented the Brigade de Cuisine. The kitchen, reimagined as a team. One chef in charge of sauces, another on the grill, another on pastry. Each one a specialist, all of them led by a head chef calling the shots. And suddenly, the food came out faster, hotter, and exactly the same every single time. It worked so well that every professional kitchen on earth still runs on this exact system today. But that's not even his most famous trick. Escoffier also gave cooking something it never really had before: respect. He banned shouting and drinking in his kitchens. He demanded that his cooks stay clean, calm, and disciplined at all times. And he insisted that a chef was a gentleman and an artist, not some brute sweating over a fire. That quiet, focused intensity you see in great chefs today, that dignity, that was his rule, written more than a century ago. Escoffier even changed how you order your food. Before him, the finest restaurants served one fixed, never-ending parade of dishes. You simply ate what you were given. But Escoffier championed something radical for the time: à la carte. The freedom to choose your own dishes, course by course, served in a clean and logical order. That menu you flip through at any restaurant today? You can thank Auguste Escoffier for that as well. Then came the partnership that conquered the world. Escoffier teamed up with a hotel genius named César Ritz. Yes, that Ritz. Together they ran the Savoy in London, and later the Carlton, transforming a simple meal out into glamorous, must-be-seen entertainment for royalty and celebrities. Kings, princes, and opera stars came from across Europe just to taste his cooking. They gave him a nickname that stuck for the rest of history: the King of Chefs and the Chef of Kings. And he had a brilliant habit. He loved naming his creations after the famous people who ate them. When the legendary opera singer Melba was staying at the Savoy, Escoffier honored her with a delicate dish of Poach's peaches over vanilla ice cream. He called it Peach Melba. That's right. The dessert you've seen on menus your entire life was a tribute to a 19th century celebrity. The man was basically inventing celebrity branding before it even existed. In 1903, Escoffier published his masterpiece, Le Guide Culinaire. Over 5,000 recipes and techniques in a single book. He stripped away the heavy, old-fashioned garnishes of the past, simplified French cooking, and neatly organized the famous mother sauces that every culinary student on the planet still memorizes today. More than 100 years later, cooking schools around the world are still teaching directly from his work. How many cookbooks can say that? And in 1912, Escoffier pulled off something no chef had ever even attempted. He launched the Dinners of Épicure. On a single night, the exact same menu was served to thousands of guests in dozens of cities around the world, all at the same time. From Paris to London to New York, complete strangers raised a glass to the very same meal. It was a global celebration of food, decades ahead of its time. By now, Escoffier wasn't just running kitchens, he was bringing the entire world to the table. And by now, Escoffier wasn't just famous, he was honored at the very highest level. In 1920, France awarded him the Legion of Honor, one of the nation's most prestigious distinctions. He was the very first chef ever to receive it. A man who began his life scrubbing pots was now decorated alongside generals and statesmen. For the first time in history, cooking itself was being treated as something truly noble. But for all the glamour and the fame, Escoffier never forgot where he came from. Throughout his life, he quietly sent food to the poor, supported struggling young cooks, and helped organize meals for the elderly and the hungry. The Chef of Kings spent his life making sure that great food wasn't only for the wealthy. To him, feeding people well was a dignity that everyone deserved. But here's the real twist. Escoffier's single greatest creation wasn't peach Melba, or the Brigade System, or any one famous dish. It was an idea. The idea that cooking is a craft worthy of genuine respect, a true profession, built on structure, pride, and artistry. That belief is the foundation everything else stands on. Every organized kitchen, every plate that arrives timed to perfection, every chef who proudly calls themselves a professional. They are all living inside the world that this tiny, mustached, former pot scrubber quietly built. Not bad for a kid who only ever wanted to be a sculptor. So the next time your meal arrives hot, beautiful, and right on time, give a little nod to Auguste Escoffier, the man who turned pure chaos into art. But here on Culinary Origins, this is only the beginning. Coming soon, we'll break down the 5 mother sauces, the building blocks behind almost every great dish. We'll master the essential cooking methods that separate a home cook from a real chef. We'll dig into the legendary rivalries that shaped fine dining, and we'll step aboard the great ocean liners of the Titanic era, when chefs cooked like royalty on the open sea. So subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss what's next. And I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me, which part of Escoffier's story surprised you the most? And what should we cook first here on the channel? Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.